Today, we will look at a new country, Togo, formerly known as the Togolese Republic. It's a Western African country. In this video, we will cover three main elements of this country briefly. The first part, we will look at general information about the demographics of the country, its location, and the geography of the country. Second, we will move to its history and its politics, then to its economy. Let's start with the general information about Togo. Togo is situated in Western Africa on the coast of the Gulf of Guinea. Its capital city is Lomé. The population of the country is 7.9 million people, and the country is considered one of the narrowest countries in terms of landmass because the country is stretched very thin due to its neighbors, and the country is only 115 kilometers width. And this provides a very different climate for the country, as the country actually has three different regions that are geographically different. In the north, we have the savannas, in the middle we have the hillsides, and then in the south, the country is tropical. The country is considered one of the smallest countries in the world, and by contrast, one of the smallest in Africa itself. The map of the country shows its neighbors and its situation on the Western African area. It's neighboring Burkina Faso on the north, Benin in the east, and Ghana on the west. We will look at two indicators of the demography of Togolese Republic. First, we will look at the pie chart that indicates how people are divided in terms of where they live. 57.9% of the population live in rural areas, in villages and in farmlands, as they are working on their farming and agriculture. And 42.1% of the population live in towns and cities in urban areas. The second indicator we look at it, which is very significant, is how people are divided, the population of Togo, in terms of their age. And the chart actually indicates that 95% of the population are under 60 years of age, which makes Togo one of the youngest countries in the world in terms of population age. Then we will look at the history of Togo. Three main phases of the history of this nation. First, its prior occupation by Germany, then during that occupation, and then independence. Before that, the area that we have Togo was a vast area known as Togoland. And then Germany colonizes the region in 1884 as part of its quest in Africa until the end of the First World War. Then the Allied powers who win, the French and the British, inherit the German colonies and they divide it between themselves. Eastern part of Togoland is given to France and the western part is given to British, which later is incorporated into the Republic of Ghana. The eastern part that the French inherit from Germany declares independence in 1960, and they still have very strong political and cultural ties to France. The military rule that starts in 1967 to 2005 is one of the longest reigns of dictatorship around the world and in Africa. The country achieved independence in 1960. Sylvanus Olympio, as this picture shows, is the first president of the Togolese Republic for 7 years. The military dictatorship is designed and led by this famous political leader for the past 4 centuries of Togo. Gizambe Adiama From 1967 to 2005, for 38 years, he is considered one of the longest reigning dictators in the world and in Africa. He leads the coup d'etat in 1967 and stays in power with its control over the military and the institutions of the country. He establishes the Rally of the Togolese People, the RTP party, that is still controlling and ruling the government in Togo. The current political system could be identified as an extension of the dictatorship of Abiame because after 2005 his son Furi Gidiame is in power. Togo has democratic institutions, much like of these other republican states that are only in name, but all of these institutions are controlled by the dictatorship and the military, and they use them as tools to validate or to justify their dictatorship. In a sense, every 4 or 5 years there are elections in Togo, but these are not fair elections, and mainly always the dictatorship wins and the opposition is either prosecuted or they are boycotting the whole process. Therefore, there is widespread oppression and lack of freedom in the country. In terms of ruling and governance, this map shows the country is divided into 3 main regions, and these main regions are actually working in some sort of small autonomy, but then in a dictatorship there's always central power. But in terms of day-to-day workings, the country is divided into 5 major areas, and these areas are ruled on rural and local levels. In the end, we will look at the economy of Togo. Togo is mainly one of the poorest countries in the world and in Africa. Its main economic activity is traditionally agriculture, mainly cotton, cocoa, and coffee. There's little manufacturing in terms of textile, and in the past 10 years, the country has moved into industry, but mainly it's mining of phosphate, which they are today one of the biggest producers of phosphate around the world. The nominal GDP of the country is $5.3 billion according to the latest data in 2008. And the GDP per capita is one of the lowest in the world for $679 in the same year. We will look at the main trading partners of the country. The major destinations of the country that they sell their products to are mainly African countries, their neighboring countries, China and India, and other European countries that are accounting for 38% of their exports. We will look at 2 other international indicators. We will look at the HDI, or Human Development Index, which Togo ranks as one of the highest in the world at 48%. And also, we will look at the Gini Index, which aims to measure economic inequality and income inequality in a country. And Togo ranks at 46%, which is some of the highest in the world. This is basically a general overview of the country, and I hope you guys liked it. Thank you.